I would kind of hope so, it being the 45th year of the Earth Day celebration. Carbon footprint has been around, that notion, for roughly 20 years. Has anybody ever calculated their carbon footprint? There are all sorts of calculators out there. No, it's okay. We can go through that exercise if you'd like. I can send you a link. Be it the EPA has a great link that we can use on this slide, or we can just send you some other calculators. Again, they all use the same common denominator, and that is CO2e. But essentially, for those who not understanding, a carbon footprint is essentially how green or ungreen we are using greenhouse gas emissions as that common denominator. And really what we're using here is CO2e equivalent. Basically what we're saying is these 6 gases, what do they compare to generally in 100 years to carbon dioxide? So this is a great way to thread all the other gases that we know contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, methane in particular, to tie it back to CO2e, something that we can talk about from a single discussion point. So nationally, granted, this is 14 years old, but it still resonates today. The data, rather, is 14 years old. But we're looking here at a trend where housing, travel, and food are the biggest contributors to our greenhouse, or our carbon footprint, rather. Housing is tough. Square footage has risen across America. Back in 2008, 2008, we had 2 cars per household. Now we have 3 on average. Back in 2011, it cost $6,000 per year to maintain a single car. Now it's $10,000. Contribute that to inflation, what have you, it's on the rise. And those stats are only a year old. So we're seeing that mainly it's the family setting and desire to have more is really the issue here. So kind of taking a step back and looking globally, we see that again, housing is eating up that picture in terms of carbon footprint. But are we surprised that we are one of the leaders, or the leader rather, in the nation or the world?
No.
It's sickening, yes, but to change one's perception and then cultural reality is tough. So again, it's not my job to say what you're doing is wrong. Gloom and doom messages never work. It's more so to say, hey, I understand, I live the same lifestyle as you, but hey, there are better ways. And oh, by the way, you'll save money, you'll interact with more people, and if anything, you'll feel better from it, whether you're eating better, living better, etc. I guess the real reason why you all are here is you want to understand how to be more sustainable, both in where you work here at UT and or at home. And what I'm going to give you is only about 1% of the opportunities out there. So what I would encourage you to do is go to our website, environment.utk.edu. I have some business cards we can hand out later. Interact with us, and we'll also help you provide opportunities. In the sign-up sheet you have, there will be emails going out with other opportunities to become more sustainable, future links, and carbon footprint, etc., and also to continue coming to these workshops. So of course, the biggest thing is always the hidden ones. Check the faucets and pipes for leak. A small drip from a warm faucet can 20 gallons of water a day. Does that mean anything to us here in Eastern Tennessee? Not so much, where we get 54 inches of rain annually. But let's go out to California.
This month.
That's about so, but if you're an allergy sufferer, I'm kind of excited about it, right? It keeps the pollen down. It's going to explode here today, I guess. But no, here locally, yes, it's not that much of a concern, but just again, wrap yourself in the larger picture. If we can maintain our local sustainability efforts, it will only benefit us, whether it be generationally down the line and or someone transplanting from Knoxville, say to the southwest, where it's a huge concern. But mainly the toilets is always where you're going to find your biggest leak. Add some food color in your tank, see if it starts bleeding into your bowl, and you'll know instantly you have a leak. A lot of your utilities will provide you a leniency period if you can identify the leak. Let's say that your monthly charge went up by 2 or 3 times, and you call and say, what is going on? You know, you're trying to take my money from me, it's you, I'm blaming you, and say, well, have you checked your leaks and your faucets and such? We'll wipe that off if you can call us back and say that you've reduced the flow of water, you found the leak. You don't have to
normally they make you, we just had our main water line busted from the road to the house, but after $2,000 later and we showed a receipt, they knocked the $300 water bill off. But
it is something.
Yeah.
$2,300 is a lot of the difference, but it's something, right?
Yeah.
And they have these accounts set up, so don't be afraid to ask. They'll probably never tell you. If I was a business person leading that charge, I probably wouldn't do it either, but just ask for it. Say, hey, I had a leak. I'm trying to get some leniency, take off my bill, can you? And they technically should say yes. So when you step outside, it's spring, everybody's wanting to plant more into their yards, add a layer of mulch around your plants. If not, add a layer of smaller flowers and such to kind of keep that area for your bigger plants shaded so water evaporation is not as much. And if you're going to water, put it down in the early morning or late afternoon. Also, if you would like to understand that you're probably putting too much more water out than you should, lay a tuna can or anything that will hold 2 inches of water out in your yard. Past that point, you're done, you just stop watering. What you really should be doing is a deep soak of your roots and not just a glance of water on the top that can actually burn your grass. I was sidestepping there, but again, go back to your tank and your toilets, put a plastic bottle or a float booster in your toilet tank that costs no more than $5 at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, etc. And what that does is it displaces the water, so you're not using that volume every time. And over a period of a year, you'll see a good contribution to reduction. But again, long-term cycle game mentality is what you need to get your head around. So what if I'm saving $1 or $2 here and there every month? I could go buy that in a vending machine down the hall, but exacerbate that, expand that rather to an annual mindset and/or add many more of these practices, and you could be saving hundreds of dollars a year. So energy conservation is something we focus here in Sustainability Office currently, and will be so doing for probably the next year. It's more so because the state is pushing us. We have great energy technologies in place. We are conserving and saving and avoiding a lot of energy consumption. There's always more work to do. At your home, who's heard the word energy vampires? Essentially, when you leave this is always a great question to ask a group. What do you think your biggest energy consumer is in your house? Fridge? What else? It's not right. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going until someone says it right.
AC.
AC, no. Are you thinking water heater? Are you thinking your laundry? A dishwasher? Those are all wrong. But really what the biggest consumer is your DVR. You wouldn't think it, but it's your DVR. I don't have one, but I know most people do, because I tend to watch my Netflix on the PS3, and I'm sure that's my biggest consumer, because I can just hear the fan going. But the DVR is always on, always going. It's a computer that's systematically trying to find trends of your viewing patterns. And so what that is if you turn that off, it resets, you're calling DirecTV, you're calling whatever provider you have, and you're having to work it over again. So of course you leave it on. But that is the biggest power consumer in your home, because you only use your AC intermittently throughout the day. Your fridge is always on, yes, but they're highly energy efficient. And so forth for your dishwasher and your laundry, again, intermittently throughout the month. So use your microwaves and toasters to cook warm leftovers. Yes, I understand you put an old biscuit in the microwave, it's going to taste horrible, so it's okay to use the oven. But if you can, toss something in there. And for those that eat a lot of pizza, for instance, toss a glass of water in there too. That'll help soften up the way it cooks and won't feel as rubbery. I say that mainly because I love pizza and I can't stop eating it. So always finding leftovers in the fridge there. It's summertime, it does get hot. Maybe if you wanted to, possibly go outside and grill your food. Again, that would take away from the energy consumption in your oven and your stovetop. This is, I think, more so common sense. People tend to forget about it, especially when they look at design. Aesthetics tend to win out over efficiency a lot of the time. That's unfortunate. But if you were to find someone, even at Lowe's or Home Depot, any of your major stores that can help you, they are now moving towards the trend of incorporating efficiency into aesthetics. So we're finding that the shades that would provide us the highest solar insolation are actually very appealing to the eye. So now you can more so focus on blocking that out, or if you find that you have a cold morning in the winter, open the windows up, let your house become a minor greenhouse for the first few hours, close it, trap the heat as the sun moves across your house. Tune-ups are always good. What do y'all currently have your AC set on in the house?
67.
67? Yeah. I call this month, what's that? Like a thermostat type? Okay.
Like you can turn them on and off.
Oh, yes, okay. Intermittently turn those on. Yeah, that's a good way to turn it too. You might want to look at a moisture control. I don't know if you felt like your house is a little moist sometimes. Those tend to not necessarily take the moisture out of the air, they just cool it down quicker. So consider that. A drier house can cool and heat faster than a moist. more moisture house, I don't know how to say that, more humid house. But typically we would like and or suggest people have their thermostat set to 72 or 74 degrees. That's hot, I know. My mother loves 66 degrees. And at some point you just lose the battle and you walk on for another fight. But that's typically where you'll find the best energy efficiency year in and year out, any given month of the year. Now, if you could, open your windows up and run that free weather, as I like to call it. I've literally cut my bill in half this past month with all the warm weather we've been having. But again, it's a pattern recognition. You have to understand that it's now time to close the windows because it's about to heat up. I've got cooler in the house. So what I'm trying to say along the way here is more so awareness. Be aware of your actions. Try to understand the consequences for everything that you do. It might not be bad, it might be good, but just be aware of what you're doing.
On your air conditioning, if you're going to be gone 12 hours that day, what do you recommend? I've read both kind of keep it at an even temperature, and I've read put it up and bring it back down when you get home.
Sure. I always boost mine up a few degrees and bring it back down. It's true, it can be more efficient if you were to keep it at that level because it does take a lot to bring it back up and or to bring it back down. But my house is only, I think, 950 odd square feet, my apartment rather, so it's very small. I can do that. When you go into the 2,500 plus and you have sections of your house that are almost their own worlds, then it might be more beneficial to just kind of keep it level, but maybe raise it to the new norm of 72. But try it. You might find that 72 is quite comfortable. Humans are very funny in that we'll move from South Florida to Minnesota and we'll just curse to the wind, the cold, and we hate the snow. But then 3 years later, we're loving it. We assimilate to our environments fairly rapidly. So you might find that 72 is actually worthwhile. Of course, you might have to maybe, during the winter months, add a sweater to your kind of attire. You can bring it back down, that kind of thing. But again, you adjust. If you're willing to adjust, you've already taken the best step moving forward to becoming sustainable. So again, just like the actions and steps to become sustainable, I'm only going to give you a sliver of what's available. The beautiful thing about sustainability, it's always evolving. It's never stagnant. We're always moving forward. That's part and why my job exists, because what we put in last year, 2 years from now, will need to be changed out to something better. And it's my job to find the solutions. So some of the transportation, because I kind of come from that sector or that kind of subject matter, of course, we've all seen electric hybrid vehicles. Soon to be self-driving cars. No, it's not from a science fiction book, even though I do love that genre. Self-driving cars are a reality. They will be coming down the pipe in the next 20 years. Will they be widely implemented like we see in a parking lot today with manual driving cars? Probably not, but in major urban cities, you'll see fleets start moving towards that, and then eventually the individual consumer will take that on. The idea being that they're more efficient in that if I have a car here and a car here, and we've all been there rushing to get to work, right, that every second counts, to where we leave, all of a sudden the light goes red, we have to stop. But what if we all moved at the same time and went through that light efficiently? And it's the same for everywhere. Just think about how much traffic would be negated by having self-driving cars, fuel efficiencies, et cetera, carpooling, you can go on and on and on. I, like most, probably are a little bit apprehensive of self-driving cars, but like I said, it's happening, the government's on board, they're putting programs in place. Some really cool things are electric generating tires. So much like the hybrid technology in the brakes, where they're able to generate electricity, we're now having it to where the rubber meets the road, no pun intended, and we're actually generating electricity. Same thing for our windows inside of cars. There are now transparent solar panels that are being put in. They're mainly for vertical footprints, where you have a skyscraper and it's sunrise and sunset, it hits that and it creates energy. Well, now they're implementing that in the new cars to where hopefully one day we're driving down the road and it's middle of July and you don't have to blast the AC because that sun's just beating down on you through the window. That insulation will actually be taken away, the infrared energy, and put into actual electricity. A hydrogen-powered tram is being rolled out, I guess, so to speak, here in Japan. Here this summer, so that'll be exciting to see play out. That's kind of a new fuel source that's being utilized. It's much more sustainable. Getting into buildings, cool roofs. I think they're both cool, and man, you are cool, and also they are cool both in temperature. They're designed to increase solar reflectance and to decrease your thermal emitment. So basically, you could talk about green roofs, literally putting a garden on top of your roof, to putting solar panels, that's blocking. There are even tactics out there to where they create a thermal insulating layer to where that only the air heats up between the outside film and the actual roofing material, pushing the hot air away. Here on campus, we are focusing a lot on geothermal energy. It's the idea of heat transfer. I pump in hot air into the ground, roughly 6 to 8 feet below, and being that the ground is held at 57 degrees constant at that depth and lower, we're able to take that hot air and replace it with cooler air through a heat exchange that comes into the house. Yes, it will not bring it up to the desired and or cool it to the desired temperature just from that alone. That shaves off 2/3 of the energy used initially to cool and heat. That's a big help. You see anywhere from 80, sometimes low as 60% energy savings when you just utilize that. And this can be done on the beach out in Wilmington where it roasts 110 degrees to the mountaintops where it gets down to 20 below some winters. So geothermal has no issues in geography. If you want to implement this at your house, we can talk later, all these technologies and or transportation, everything we talk about. It is costly, but remember, long-term cycle gains. There are a lot of rebates out there that many people are not aware of, and sometimes by design. A lot of industry tries to keep these opportunities at bay to continue with their products until that becomes obsolete. So keep that in mind too. We can't help you personally with more construction projects than just small little actions. Of course, solar power is big. The smart glass is also pretty cool. It essentially changes the amount of light that enters the building through physics that I cannot teach you today. As mentioned before, I'm more of a hydrology guy, not more of a pure science physicist. Stormwater management is huge and will be becoming more so. Specifically here at UT, we are under the MS4 program, which is great. It pretty much means that anything over a half inch of rain per year, we have to mitigate and or reclaim to ensure that we don't have peak discharge in our streams, pollutants running off, etc. This has highly been the case out in the Southwest where water is valued very highly, but more so here in East Tennessee, we're seeing that pollution is becoming an issue, and so we're working to rectify that. But it could be beautiful too. Rain gardens, bioretention cells, native grass meadows. These are things that are very appeasing to the eye that are also sustainable. Again, the biggest issue that people have is putting aesthetics into their daily life that are sustainable actions. And so there are opportunities out there. It's just becoming aware. So I flew through that real quick. Again, that was the meat of how to be more sustainable. I'll go through this real quick as well, and then we can open up for dialogue. But here at UT, we have a snippet of what we're doing. These are what are deemed to be the more prominent, of course, I'm up there on the top, the more prominent organizations working towards environmentalism here on campus. Literally, there are 2 other slides we could follow this behind with more mentions and centers and stakeholders and partners. And those can be found on our website. But most people think we are it, but we're not. We have a lot of champions across campus. And even though we have 3, sometimes 5 people in my office any given year, I feel like I have 1,000 people working for us because of these entities. And a lot more money too. So an environmental snapshot real quick. We lead the SEC in game day recycling. We're second in the nation, but I would like to rectify that mention of second in the nation. Ohio State claims to be first, but they only capture their bowl, their stadium. We capture our data and we expand that to the tailgating areas. So if Ohio State were to do that, we estimate that they would be 3rd or 4th. So technicality, we are second, but know that we are leading the nation in game day recycling. Just look how much recycled composting materials we put back in 2014. It's 135 tons. Roll that back 5 years ago, and we were only doing 15-20%. Jay Price, our recycling manager, has done a tremendous job. He now has a zero waste coordinator helping him. So this is a very exciting thing. And I harp on that a lot because we are UT, and we do love our athletics to a fault sometimes. But we do love our athletics. I had to mention that. We are now done with coal burning on campus, so hooray on that one. You'll see the stacks coming down, the coal stacks coming down here next year sometime. We'll make announcements on that. We'll do some pretty videos and such. We have 2 electric vehicle charging stations on campus. They produce quite a bit of energy for us. We have a new solar array with another charging station going to top 11th Street Garage. That should be completed sometime this summer, I believe. So also LEED is a very big thing. It has been for the past 10 years, but honestly it's becoming the norm, which is very exciting. LEED, it used to be, let's bring out the masses and do a press event and do a ribbon cutting and all these exciting things. Now it's like, we got LEED again, cool. Some schools like Florida have 56 LEED buildings. We're working our way towards that. Granted, they're about 8 years ahead of us in their entire redesign for their master plan. We're now just going into that phase. That's why you see all this construction. But do know these buildings on campus are either LEED Standard or LEED Silver certified, and we are looking to pursue gold with the UM Center. So with all that in mind, I could spit out and sit on my soapbox up here and talk all day, but do y'all have any questions? I wanted to kind of have some dialogue to see if what you do at UT, if there's any interaction that we can have, opportunities. We have a lot of funding. We have a lot of enthusiastic people willing to help. So is there anything that we can talk about now? Any questions that I can answer?
Can we ask one question?
Sure.
What does LEED stand for?
From my understanding, it's leadership in environmental economic design. It might be the economic environmental switch, but I do know those are the 4 contributors. Basically, it's saying that you have a sustainable building. What would be 20 years for additional building life, we're going to go 40 typically. And oh, by the way, your maintenance costs were $500,000. We're looking at 100. It's drastically different, and I think the design's a lot cooler. I mean, look at music. You wouldn't think it though, but Ayers is also a LEED Silver building too, so you can renovate and come on the back end for an historical setting.
The School of Architecture is really moving as quickly as possible towards really pushing those designs.
Oh, we love it. Yeah, there's students that come out of there. It's frustrating sometimes because we are in a college setting. We move at sometimes at snail's pace, and students are just left field thinkers, idealistic thinking. But we love to hear what's coming out of, especially landscape architecture. It's very encouraging.
Yeah, they're
very encouraging.
very.
Sustainability is not a buzzword anymore, it feels like. Will it die off? I hope not, but it's to you all to put that to action and to help us out across campus. So if anything, please be our champion, and we'll talk more after this and or email for some suggestions. Yeah, Linda.
You mentioned rebates.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know about them,
Mhm.
and it's the company's desire maybe not to advertise them as much. Can you give some examples
Mhm.
of,
Sure.
utilities and companies that should be offering something that we could add more pressure to, or?
I'll step back just real quick and say this. Not necessarily the companies that are keeping that promotion at bay, it's more so their competitors, the industry, petroleum,
And
for
the IRS
instance.
also gives you a rebate depending on what you do for your house that's energy efficient. You can
Yeah.
claim up to like 30% of the cost.
that?
The IRS on your taxes,
Yeah.
depending
Yeah, a
on,
maximum of 30% or $150,
Yeah.
whichever is
you know,
higher.
for whatever you bought
It's
that was
always
that
Yeah.
qualified
Yeah.
for energy efficient. I do know that.
But no, if you were to call TVA, they'll have a list ready to go, if not top of their head, and we can provide that too. But typically, solar has a big rebate right now. Energy efficiency products, energy star-rated products rather. Certain materials that are being now deemed to be energy efficient by the EPA, insulation, that kind of thing is very heavy into that. New construction, zero waste homes can get a rebate if you were to build to that maximum zero waste efficiency. And also from things like if you have a plot of land, I know many of my cohorts across the nation, or my colleagues rather, they have sizable lots to their yard, and they actually keep it forest. If they were just to every now and then cull out and make sure that it's properly managed, they get a rebate on their, or more so deduction on their taxes rather. And there are a lot of people, and if I'm not the one, there are about 5 professors I can think of right now, Dr. Bill Park, for instance, et cetera, that can help you identify these too. So again, I'm not the only one on campus. There are hundreds of us working to make this a more stable place to live, learn, and work. All you gotta do is just be aware and reach out. Let's talk. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.